The Jeffersons is a classic American sitcom that aired from 1975 to 1985. It follows the lives of George and Louise Jefferson, a black couple who achieve success and move from Queens to a luxury apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. The show humorously explores their experiences navigating societal issues, relationships with their neighbors, and the challenges of newfound wealth. With memorable characters, witty dialogue, and social commentary, The Jeffersons remains a beloved portrayal of family, friendship, and the pursuit of the American dream. I remember watching my parents and their friends watch this show and laughing as they related to the topics, humor, and lessons of each episode. It's a well-loved classic, but the purpose of this review is to see how well black husbands, black fathers, and young black men were being depicted in the first wave of TV shows depicting the black family in America. Specifically, did they show black husbands and black men as deserving to be seen as the head of their family, successful at their profession, successfully providing for their family, and a leader in their community? Let's jump right in. First, to refresh everyone's memory, let's recap the main characters. First, there's George Jefferson. George was a successful businessman who owned a chain of dry cleaning stores. He was known for his brash personality, quick temper, and aspirations for social status, often striving to move up in the world. Louise "Wheezy" Jefferson. Wheezy was George's patient and level-headed wife. She was known for her warmth, kindness, and ability to keep George in check when his ambitions led to trouble. Lionel Jefferson. Lionel was the Jeffersons' son. He was known for his progressive views, often challenging his father's conservative beliefs, and for his attempts to find his own path in life separate from his parents. Helen Willis. Helen was the Jeffersons' neighbor and Louise's best friend. She was known for her intelligence, grace, and for being a supportive friend to Louise, often offering advice and perspective on various situations. Tom Willis. Tom was Helen's husband and George's friend. He was known for his affable nature, as well as being one of the first interracial couples depicted on American television, which was groundbreaking for its time. Florence Johnston. Florence was the Jeffersons' sassy and wisecracking maid. She was known for her sharp wit, sarcastic remarks, and her ability to keep the household running smoothly despite George's often unreasonable demands. Jenny Willis Jefferson. Jenny was Tom and Helen's daughter who later married Lionel Jefferson. She was known for her sweetness, intelligence, and for being a supportive wife to Lionel, as well as a beloved member of the Jefferson family. The way the writers and the creator depict him, George is stubborn and his pursuit of social status constantly conflicted with his wife, Wheezy's, desire for a simpler, more grounded life. While George's ambitious nature leads him to prioritize material success, Wheezy values family, community, and humility. This core difference in values occasionally leads to disagreements and moments of friction in their relationship as they navigated the complexities of their differing aspirations while still trying to support each other. Overall, despite his success in the dry cleaning business, George is seen as a stubborn, silly, brash, ambitious small business owner that loves to dress well and speak his mind. In this case, I will say that his wife, Wheezy, overall gave George the respect he earned. With that being said, if we are being honest, we'd have to agree that she put George in check frequently and way more than he put her in check. So, in my opinion, of the two of them, George was way more respectful and considerate. All reasonable men agree that a wife isn't a servant and brings intelligence, talents, and value that add to the strength of the family. However, to think that the woman that is not living off of the sweat of her own brow, but off of the physical, emotional, and intellectual efforts of her husband, would feel as though she can regularly check him to prove to herself and to him that she is equal to, if not a notch above his status in the family and in the relationship, seems rather odd. Florence Johnston. Florence was the Jeffersons' sassy and wisecracking maid. She was known for her sharp wit, sarcastic remarks, and her ability to keep the household running smoothly despite George's often unreasonable demands. No matter how you feel about the relationship between George and his wife Wheezy, everyone would have to agree that the housekeeper, Florence, played by the wonderful Marla Gibbs, was completely out of pocket the majority of the time. This woman simply didn't know how to stay in her place. So in The Jeffersons, the second popular TV show focused on a black family in America, where the man and woman are successfully married. I'd say George was definitely given more respect than James in Good Times, but this was solely because of his financial success, and not because as the husband and the father, he was due a high level of respect, but nonetheless he was respected. However, Although he led the charge that resulted in building a dry cleaning empire in New York during the racially charged 60s, which allowed his wife to become a well-kept stay-at-home wife, his family to move to east side of Manhattan into that deluxe apartment into Sky and raise a decent son into manhood. Although he did all that and more, he still had to fight for respect from his own housekeeper. Ridiculous if you ask me. Now everyone understands this was a TV show and comedy. But to deny the fact that what is seen on a regular basis through music and on television night after night will ultimately become accepted as normal is not reasonable. There are many studies on this I could reference that would all point to this conclusion. But there was a recent article about this, and I will leave a link to it in the description for anyone that would like to read it, and you can check their reference. The article listed references reality shows, but all studies show that this is the same for all shows regardless if it is a reality show or not. Hit the like or the dislike button and let us know how you feel about it. And leave a comment with why you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But let's keep it moving and get on to the other characters. Lionel Jefferson. Lionel was the Jeffersons' son. He was known for his progressive views, often challenging his father's conservative beliefs, and for his attempts to find his own path in life separate from his parents. Helen Willis. Helen was the Jeffersons' neighbor and Louise's best friend. She was known for her intelligence, grace, and for being a supportive friend to Louise, often offering advice and perspective on various situations. Tom Willis. Tom was Helen's husband and George's friend. He was known for his affable nature, as well as being one of the first interracial couples depicted on American television, which was groundbreaking for its time. Jenny Willis Jefferson. Jenny was Tom and Helen's daughter, who later married Lionel Jefferson. She was known for her sweetness, intelligence, and for being a supportive wife to Lionel, as well as a beloved member of the Jefferson family. Lionel was depicted as a man struggling to find his niche in life, and as a result, his marriage ends in divorce. I guess I am split on the Jeffersons. It did show a black husband and father getting respect. Unfortunately, they did not show this respect being freely and consistently given to him by the two black women in his life. He had to fight for it. The character Lionel never reached the level of becoming that man that was seen as strong, independent, stable, and living in the masculine role all men should eventually reach. I think the Jeffersons did a better job at depicting black men in a better light than was done in Good Times, but let us know your opinion. Let's move on to The Cosby Show. Cliff, a far cry from James from Good Times, or George from The Jeffersons. Cliff Huxtable, the main character and patriarch of the family, was AOBGYN, a professional, well-educated, well-respected, and liked member of the community, and a mentor to his family members and to anyone that needed a word of wisdom. The Cosby Show did a great job at elevating the archetype of the black husband and the black father in America. Looking at it now, in the context of this conversation, I noticed a pattern that you may find interesting, so listen all the way to the summary at the end. So first, let's see how well The Cosby Show did at depicting black husbands, black fathers, and the black men of this family. Cliff, the main patriarch, was respected and well received. He was a trusted advisor and mentor to the family. He led them. However, even though all those things were true, he still needed to hide simple things like eating a sandwich that his wife wouldn't approve of. I mean, come on. Men, let's be real. Could you imagine having to hide in your basement to eat your hoagie because you were afraid of your wife's disapproval? This was an ongoing theme in many of the episodes. I mean, why would a man that is successful in his career, successful in his family, and even results of success in his bank account, why on earth would a man like this need to hide the fact that he is enjoying a hoagie and a bag of chips? Really? Now, that can be seen as minor, and I get it because ultimately, that character was well respected and was well received, and as I mentioned before, the character of Cliff Huxtable was an incredible example of leveling up the archetype of the black father and the black husband in America. Okay, so let's see how The Cosby Show did with the other black men characters on the show. Let's start with Theo, the son. I'm a little torn on this one because almost as they did on Good Times and on The Jeffersons, they originally depict the son as not being the sharpest knife in the drawer. As a matter of fact, he actually struggled with his grades and he was not seen as even academically average. Instead, he was shown to be a below-average student. Now they did turn it around, as after years of being seen as a low achiever that lacked discipline and ambition, they discover that Theo actually has dyslexia. So for the first 5 years, everyone just accepts the fact that Theo is just not that smart. But during season 6, it is discovered that he is dyslexic. Now this was discovered 6 seasons in, so I'm not sure how or even if this would change the archetype of the young black boy who's trying to grow into his manhood they had already locked into the subconscious of the millions of viewers. But at least on a conscious level, we could all update our view of Theo. Because of this, The Cosby Show did a great job with the character of Theo in the end. And in my opinion, they helped move the needle on how folks saw the archetype of the young black man in a positive direction. But maybe one of you sees it differently. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment. And then there was Martin. Martin was the husband to Denise Huxtable. Now, if you didn't know, Martin was depicted as intelligent and successful in his career. He was a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, which means he was an officer, so he was seen as worthy of a leadership role and as a positive light in the family for sure. This character was seen as very responsible, intelligent, and dedicated to his family and his career, and obviously through the U.S. Navy to the country. So they did an incredible job of showcasing another positive depiction of a young black man in America. This brings us to Elvin. Elvin married Sandra Huxtable, the oldest of the Huxtable daughters. Elvin was portrayed as someone who did not have a lot of common sense, so I'd say intellectually, he was not portrayed as someone that was very astute. He visually grows and gains some level of credibility as the seasons progress through lots of experiences, advice, and mentorship from both Cliff and Claire Huxtable. With that being said, he never escapes the image of being naive, clueless, low-key dumb, and I can't recall him even being seen as a hard worker. But the man was well-liked and always seen as well-intentioned, and that's a good thing. And lastly on our list is Dabnus. Dabnus married Vanessa Huxtable. Dabnus was originally introduced to the rest of the Huxtable family and to the viewers as the maintenance man at the college that Vanessa was attending the college. Ultimately, it was discovered that although he was employed as the maintenance man at the college, he had also served in the military, and he was a homeowner. I think he owned a small farm of some sort that was paid off, so from the standpoint of the American dream of homeownership, he was successful. Ultimately, having his own money, having his own savings, having successfully served in the military, having a stable job as the maintenance manager at the college, and then also being a homeowner, which is the American dream, showed another way that a grown man could be successful and could provide for a family and have a stable, successful life. So that was a great thing. So I believe that the Dabnus character also helped move the needle in delivering a different positive archetype of a black man and a black husband in America. Ultimately, I think The Cosby Show scores pretty high on my list of shows that presented the best depictions of black men, black fathers, and black husbands in America. So let's look at each of these male characters and grade them. Let's grade the writers developed each of these characters as being smart, deserving of a high level of respect from their wife and from the entire family. Were they seen as wise? Were they successful in their careers? And were they seen as a good person? Let's go. Cliff Huxtable would get a yes for all of those questions. A 4 out of 4. Theo would get all no's and 1 yes for being seen as a good person. He gets a 1 out of 4. Martin, like Cliff, would get a yes for each question. Another 4 out of 4. Elvin, like Theo, would get all no's and 1 yes for being seen as a good person. He also gets a 1 out of 4. Dabnus. Dabnus would get a yes for each question. Another 4 out of 4. So I think the writers did a good job at keeping a realistic balance while not going negative. There are some other characters that we could have included, but it wouldn't change the result. The creators and writers did a great job at moving the needle on improving how black people themselves and people in general saw black husbands, black fathers, and young black men in America. It's pretty interesting when you think of the 3 shows Good Times, The Jeffersons, and The Cosby Show, and regards to the husbands only. James, armed with a basic education and a heavy machine operator's certificate, struggled to make ends meet and never experienced the benefit of stable employment. Outside of this, James was definitely a man's man and an Army veteran. He did not take too much crap from anyone other than the women in his life, namely his wife, his daughter, and from time to time his neighbor and family friend Willona. There were many times when they would give him the business about something he said or just to be sure their voice was heard. But he would eventually put them back in their place, making sure they were reminded of his place as the head of that family and of that house. Compare that to George, the husband on the Jeffersons. George grew up in a bad part of Harlem and did not finish high school, and also served in the armed forces. In his case, he served as a cook in the Navy, and after leaving the Navy, he began working on building his dry cleaning empire. Never getting his high school diploma nor any formal education, George, with the support of his wife, was able to build a chain of 7 dry cleaners serving the busy city of New York. So although this 5'5" 130-pound man from Harlem didn't physically match the prowess of James, his business acumen, ability to work hard, a strong work ethic and grit proved to be very formidable and worthy of respect. Which brings us to Cliff Huxtable. Unlike James and George, Cliff completed higher education and is a successful medical physician. He's not very ambitious in his pursuits, which is obvious by him choosing to work from a small home office space so he can spend more time with family instead of working in a traditional medical office or hospital where he would see patients all day every day. Regardless of this, Cliff was successful and respected, but with that being the case, they gave his character a twist. Whereas James and George projected male masculinity in their mannerisms, their speech, and even their clothing, Cliff Huxtable was never seen as a masculine black man. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying he was feminine, but from his walk, to his mannerisms, to his colorful sweaters. And although he was seen as the leader of the family, his wife, the attorney, was strong-willed, opinionated, full of ego, was not the type to be guided by anyone other than herself, and was ever present in the final decision-making process. So this was the first time that I recall a TV show family when it was this clear that the wife was equal to her husband, in every way. And in their home, there was no one head of the family, as both husband and wife were equals in every way. None of these conditions could be seen to have a masculine present at all. With that being said, once in a great while, Cliff would make a statement to one of his children that let them know he was the father. Unlike James and George, I cannot recall an episode where Cliff checked his wife. So with the first three well-known TV shows, an American TV show, history about a black family in which the household included both parents and their children, the father character in these shows began with a black husband and father who is masculine, uneducated, and struggling financially, to a black husband and father that is somewhat masculine, uneducated, and financially successful, to lastly, a black husband and father that is not masculine, is well educated, and is financially successful. An interesting progression once you notice it. Ultimately, the impact that these first three major TV shows about a black family America had on TV viewers could be seen both problematic and good. On one hand, you have the black husband and black father losing respect and headship over his wife and family, as from Good Times, where the black husband and black father had the highest role and authority in the family. But we could see the beginnings of family members feeling more free to give dad a lot more sass and push back than we had ever seen white fathers and white husbands regularly receive on TV shows that preceded this time period. All the way to the Cosby Show, where the black father and black husband completely lost the idea of sole headship over his family, as now he was an equal co-leader of the family at best. And just like with anything else that is bad for you, the bad stuff was outnumbered by and wrapped by a lot of good things, and there were many. Mainly, and to stay on the topic of this conversation, black men were showcased as being hard workers with the same Christian values and family values in many of their white counterparts, and whether formally educated or not, black men are completely capable of reaching the highest levels of success. I don't think they did as good of a job showing these things with the young black men and sons on the show as they were able to do with the fathers themselves, but I'm sure it's because I can critic eye when looking at these things. Either way, I like the shows and watch reruns of them to this day, and can see how the shows did good things for black men and how they did a lot of bad for black men as well. Hit the like or the dislike button to let me know if you agree or don't agree, and leave a comment with anything you saw good or challenging about these shows. And I'm out. Peace.